So here I have a program where I want to store a list of groceries. So I've made three variables, item 1, item 2, item 3, to store the different groceries I need to buy from the grocery store. But you can imagine that if I had a very long grocery list, I would have a lot of variables that I would need to type out in order to store all of my information. So there's a solution to this, and that solution is a list. So instead of having multiple shopping variables, I have one shopping variable, and I use these square brackets and I use commas, and I'm able to store multiple things in a list. Now if I want to get at those things, I have to use an index. So the index starts at 0 and goes up. So this is 0, 1, and 2. And so when I run this program, I get all of my items. You can think of a list as a little table. So the table has rows to it, and each row has a number called an index. And the things in each row are called elements. So this string literal, milk, eggs, and butter, those are elements. Here's another example where we are storing a string literal, an integer literal, and then a float. Here we have a list called pockets, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 string literals, and we're going to assign a string literal to index 3. So remember, index 3 is actually the fourth element in the list. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What it's going to do is replace this string literal with this string, and we'll see that when it is printed. So it was changed. In addition to changing elements in a list, we can actually make the list longer. So here we have a list called birds. It's got 2 elements in it, and if we want to add on an element to the list, what we can do is make another list, and we can add the 2 lists together using this syntax, or we can use this short form which does the same thing but without this piece here. So when we run this, we get all 5 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this example, we've got a list of strings once again, and we have these functions called pop, and what those will do is remove an item from the list. So for example, if we do pop 4, that's going to be the 5th item, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to remove this element from the list, and so that when we printed it, write book is missing from that list. We can remove the first item from the list, which would be snowboard, and then we're just left with this piece of the list, and then we could remove item or element 1, which is the second element, and then we're just left with these 2 elements. So a way of adding to lists, of removing from lists. Let's see how we can insert something. So we're adding something and making the list bigger at the same time. Here we have a list of floating point numbers or decimal numbers, and what we're going to do is insert an element at position 6. So the 30 gets placed in the 7th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Items in a list are called elements. Elements in a list can be specified using an index, which is an integer that starts at 0.